Zone. Hey! This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Is it already time for us to start? Oh my goodness.
It's go time.
We are up and going. We are at the home show at Mount America Expo Center. Yeah, you might have just heard Hans and Scotty there. We're actually across the we're across the way here. And I dare say, just as fun of a booth, or maybe even more fun, because we are at the Advanced Window Products booth over here, where we find ourselves, JJ, every 6 months or so at the home show. We've made it a habit to rub shoulders with the Advanced Windows guys at the home show. Coolest place to be on a Friday. Well, I say that as a married person. This is like a cool place to be, right? You guys
I already texted my wife. I'm like, oh, you know the home show's this week?
Hey, we should go look at some of that AstroTurf. Yeah, no, there's tons of – there are so many things that I was
For
like –
married people over 40, the home show's amazing.
See, these are the thoughts that went into my head.
Yes, I know.
You're saying that. As I walked in here, I'm like, oh, the home show, nice. But also, like, what am I thinking?
I know.
No. Why am I excited?
Because we could get wrapped up into anything.
Yes.
I can convince myself at every booth that I need something.
I swear, my life is Frank the Tank off of Old School, right? Honey, Frank the Tank's gone, right? Like,
Honey, I drive a Sebring. What is he? I'm sensible now, yeah.
I spend my weekends at Home Depot.
Hey, we're homeowners, so we get it. So we're at the home show. And if you're listening in, this is an awesome place to be this week. And we'll chat with you about the deals that Advanced Windows are doing right now. And when we're here, it's an even more special deal. So we'll get to that in just a little while. It's a football Friday. Alex Curie, Jeremiah Jensen. He's JJ, I'm Alex. And then, of course, Stevenson, Sylvester. Sly, I just feel honored that you were like, Arizona State game? No. I got to do radio with my guys back in Salt Lake. Is that what happened?
No, definitely. I kicked the door down. I'm like, no, I got to do football
Fridays. I got to stay here to do
Priorities.
Football Fridays is literally legendary.
I got to be at the home show.
Right.
Give me. That's the real reason Sly's here.
Right? I heard we were coming down here. I'm just like, I need to get a look at this.
I know.
It comes down once a year. We're going to have a couple Utah football games. I got to make sure that I'm here.
It's a big one. Of course, yesterday the news that Cam Rising is going to be playing for this Utah team, at least according to reports. I think more and more, as it's gained traction over the past 24 hours, everybody's starting to feel a little bit better about the fact that I think this might actually be coming true. Brett McMurphy might know a thing or two about what some of these sources are saying.
The thing is, everyone's so gun-shy to believe because we've been burned so many times.
I'm one of those.
I bet Kyle's like, I'll believe it when I see it.
Right.
I mean, there's a little part of
I need to see him take a snap first before I'm actually going to believe he'll play. So,
I feel bad for the kid because, one, he is a kid. I know we talk about him being older and everything and all that.
The old kid.
I think people act like I think we've unfairly, I think a lot of people have unfairly wrapped him up with just being like, oh, a guy who's negotiating. This is the Deshaun Watson of college football. He just wants that money, man. And you're like, no, this is not the case. I think this guy is a competitor. He wants to play. I want that out there. I kept thinking the more I thought about it this week, I was like, this dude, his entire what he is made of is playing. And so not playing is foreign to him. It's not fun. It's not cool to have to take all those questions and have to run with it and not know the answers, or try to make sure that you're being healthy, but also at the same time coming back at the right time and being there for your teammates and stuff. So all of those things are out there, and yet at the same time, we're all still wondering if that's exactly how this thing's going to go down. And I'm really hoping that's going to be the case. But we've got tons to cover today. We've got tons to chat about. It's a football Friday. We have so many things to dive into. And so let's do this. Let's just jump in to the top of the program. Our show brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar perfect for anybody who needs that quick, tasty, and nutritious boost. So let's jump in right here. Let's just dive right in. It is The Cut, top of the program.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I'm excited for the fans and for our families, for everybody to see the excitement around BYU football. I'm glad that there's a lot of attention that we're having Fox come in and be part of the festivities because I want to show off our fans. It's great for everybody, and I want our players to embrace the excitement, the energy, but you embrace it by going to work and you go back to work, stay humble, work hard, and practice hard, get better. That's what we got to do.
Let's start off things talking about this big game down at BYU tomorrow. It is the big noon, it's the big noon kickoff that Fox is going to be doing. This is the first time the big noon kickoff has been down in Provo. We haven't even seen a big national college football show down there in Provo since, 2009? I think somebody was mentioning to me. That's a long stretch.
It's been a minute, yeah.
Long stretch. But what that means is what? Two things. They feel like that there's a storyline there with BYU, but they also feel like, hey, this might be a pretty darn decent game this weekend with Arizona coming to town. When all this attention's around there, and Sly, I'm assuming you've played in a couple games where game day showed up or the national, everybody wants to be there and kind of see what's going on. This is what I wanted to ask you about was, because we ask the players all the time, like, hey, man, big noon kickoff, that's awesome. You guys are getting all this attention. And there's the part where you tell everybody, oh, we don't think about that stuff. What's actually going on behind the scenes?
Honestly, if I could be honest, you don't really feel it, right? There's a lot of hype around it because you see a couple more NFL scouts at practice, a couple more people, but you don't really hear the news. And, I'm old, so the news media is a lot different than it was back when I did.
Right.
Gosh, back in my day.
Oh, wow.
Uncle Rico over here.
I pulled it out.
You and Nate should do that stuff, get in the echo chamber and go, back in my day.
Yeah.
Back before
it's
NIL.
A little different, but honestly, you're so confined in your stuff, you really don't feel it until you go to the stadium and there's a lot more cameras. And then you're like, oh, this is good. But honestly, if your crowd has been what BYU's crowd has been this season, it's not going to be that big of a difference. And
right.
So you might get a couple more questions in media times and open media press coverage and stuff like that. But there is not a big difference as far as a player's concerned.
I think it's just great for the school.
Yes.
It's great for the students.
It's great for the school.
It's great for Provo. It's great for all that. It's good for the program overall. It makes sense to me that it's not really a distraction for the players. Maybe Coach Kalani Sitake's got to do a couple more meetings or interviews with the TV people or something. Yeah. But other than that,
it's the same as a big game.
It's a welcome exposure for your program.
Right. It's a big game. It's getting national coverage, but it's the same as you would be playing a big game that didn't have national coverage.
Right.
So this is an interesting thing here because Mark Ingram, who of course won the Heisman Trophy at University.
No neck Mark.
At the University of Alabama. Is that what you guys called him? No neck Mark?
Oh, he was a lot skinnier his freshman year when we played him.
So
Roll down Tide.
Rob Stone actually, I know. Rob Stone actually asked Mark Ingram about this game at BYU, and he was asked specifically about BYU and kind of what comes to mind when he thinks of BYU. And in my mind, I'm going, Mark Ingram probably had to Google some stuff before he got going on BYU. But the reality is it was quite an interesting answer. Here's what he said.
Cougars, they're sitting there in a 4-way tie for second in the conference. You know who's first place in the Big 12, by the way? Texas Tech.
Wow.
Texas Tech. How about the Red Raiders? All right. So, Mark, when you historically think of BYU, all right, what comes to mind? I think I know the answers.
Taysom Hill.
Yep.
Jamal Williams.
Yeah, so, offense, points.
No, that's not offense points is not what he was talking about. He's talking about teammates.
He's talking about guys who he knows, who he's been with, obviously.
That's all he knows to be.
He has that connection to But you know what's interesting now is that honestly, whatever version of what people have in their head about BYU, 84 championship is not one of them. Ty Detmer, the Heisman Trophy winner, is not one of them. People don't think of Jim McMahon. They don't think of Steve Young. Maybe they think of Steve Young almost like kind of. But just because they know, because he's been recently in the media, these are the guys who represent BYU now.
If you're younger than us, younger than 50.
I mean, the only guys
you don't remember any of that.
Right, of course not.
So what do you remember of BYU?
Would be Mike Leach. Andy Reid right now, some guys like that. Otherwise, that's all you know of
it's
BYU.
People who are from the state of Utah or BYU
that
fans
know more
up,
about it.
know
But
about
nationally, it was the
Right.
same thing with Utah. Nobody knew anything about Utah until the past few decades, right? So Utah had to build that.
I was proud of Mark Ingram for knowing that both Taysom and Jamal Williams went to BYU. They're like, oh, it came up in the locker room. I remember those guys. Those BYU guys. The thing is that
it reminds me how good those teams were that had Taysom Hill and Jamal Williams on it, and it's a shame that they had to play in independence.
Yep.
Because that's a group and a team. That 2016 team was loaded. Harvey Longy was on that team as well. They had a lot. Nakua played at safety. That was a really good football team.
Right.
And they could have done some big things, much bigger than they had an opportunity to do. They had a lot of talent on that team. NFL guys.
I was shocked in that Baylor game. I think everybody was when I'm watching that thing go down, and you blinked and they were up 21-0. I went, this. It felt so not BYU because they're not used to coming out and punching you in the mouth on the offensive side of the ball. The only game I could think of that was like that against an opponent that was a Power 4 opponent that came to mind was against when Isaac Wilson came into Utah, and they immediately got up. It was like they were like, we have to get up on this crowd. We have to get up on this group at their place as soon as we can because otherwise we're going to be behind it. We're going to be against it. And obviously the energy and all that stuff ended up running them down by the end of that game, and they lost that one too. And you could see how things can flip there. And against Baylor, they have the quick start. They have they're pumping out and they're going fast and they're going at it, and then they start to fall off a little bit. Does that concern you? The ability to be able to come out and to have that kind of quick start because and I'll play a Kalani clip right here. He talked about how they can't come out flat, and I would say too, you got to be really careful because they got to go real quick. Here's what Kalani said about starting things off against Arizona.
When you get into the momentum of every week playing the game, I think that could happen when you don't take that week as serious and then you change up the rhythm. So our rhythm has been the same. It was a work week for us last week. And so the guys got to practice and we put some pads on and we got to work. The only difference is we didn't play games. So we required our guys to get some work in still, even during game day, try to find ways to get them in great shape. But they had to heal as well. And mentally they can get themselves ready.
How big of a deal was it to be able to get that win and then walk away for 10 days to be able to get right and to get healthy?
I mean, for me, I think it's huge, right? And team-wise, I'm not trying to praise BYU too much. This rivalry game's right around the corner. It'll be instantly. But team-wise, if you can show as a team that I'm capable of doing that, that's our own motivation. Now, things of keeping that lead, not letting the team back in, that can be taught in further weeks. You came out with the W, so that is also a huge positive of that. But you're capable. You're capable of putting 28 points in the first half on a football team and on a P4 football team. You can do that. So I think more of the saying of act like you've been there before is important as far as the team aspect, especially this early in the season for a team like BYU.
As far as slow starts, I mean, what happened to Utah in the Arizona game? I mean, you come down, you march down the field, you rack up all this total offense, but you can't get it in the end zone. That's a slow start. You can't. Yeah. You're not finishing drives.
And it's almost worse.
Utah lost that game in the first quarter.
It's crazy.
2 possessions, no points, when it should have been 14-0.
Inside the 10-yard line. Yeah.
And they would have won that game if they punched those two things in. We're having a completely different conversation today about Utah. So BYU, same thing. We talk about this, and I know this pains you, but BYU looks a lot like Utah in a lot of ways, and I feel like the same thing could happen to BYU that happened to Utah because the defense is similar too. Like, can Fafita take advantage of opportunities against that defense? That defense is good, but they found their spots. Now, why couldn't Arizona do that against Texas Tech? I don't know. Why couldn't Arizona do that against Kansas State? I don't know. But this Arizona team is capable.
Oh yeah, for
and
sure.
you've got to be sharp, and you got to jump on them quickly. I think if you let Arizona stick around like Utah did, and give them some time to figure some stuff out, they'll beat you. So BYU has got to get off to a great start on Saturday.
It really feels like Arizona is one of those teams that are just like, I want to play against a big opponent and like upset them. There are teams out there who live for games like that, and they just play up to their capabilities in those games, and then other games you're just like, what are you guys doing?
Can't play 4 quarters, can't play 12 games.
Right.
Too many letdowns.
Like, here's the thing. They had an advantage on Utah. They came off of a bye week, and they were ready to go. They had 2 weeks to prepare for one team. That is huge, right? You know, I can talk about bowl games, talk about first games of the year. When you have that much opportunity to prepare for opponent, it helps you, especially mentally getting into a big game, even at that. So I'd love to come off of a bye week and play a big-time opponent, but they just caught Utah at the right time.
There's lots going on, obviously. You're trying to figure out, what. Anytime you haven't seen the team play for a minute, and injuries being whatever they are, the running back room at BYU is improved just based off of the fact that they did get some time off. And on the flip side, you have guys like wideout. Cody Epps, who's not going to be back, who hasn't been able to get right yet. So this is all interesting because is LJ Martin going to actually play? Is he 100%? We haven't even seen him, since game 1? And even then, it didn't feel like he was 100% because we heard all camp that, he's trying to figure some things out.
He limped off in game 2, right, against SMU. That's the last we saw of him.
That's right. And we really haven't seen an RB 1, 2, or 3 in the past 3
Who's their leading rusher right now?
Quarterback.
Right. That's not good, by the way.
That's
People
a concern.
He's leading the team, and what did the guy say yesterday? He goes, he leads the team in passing and rushing. I'm like, well, he's a quarterback, so
I hope he leads in passing.
He's like a point guard.
Right.
You have the ball in your hand all the time.
And then the rushing part, by the way, it's not like he's got 840 yards.
No.
He's running for his life,
right?
Of course
and they're barely getting there. Look, I had this thing today where I saw because Gene T from Boise State's now highest odds of the Heisman race. Congrats! I was like
for Boise State.
Yes, and you know what's happening is like I thought, okay, it's going to take a while for these national guys to catch on, but the dude has. In 4.5 games that he's played so far, 1,100 freaking yards, and
rushing, folks.
He's on pace.
Crazy.
He's on pace to break 3,000, which would beat Barry Sanders' rushing record by 740 yards. What are we talking about? So, what I'm saying is that BYU's running game has been abysmal, and it's matched up with what the bad numbers were last year. But they're 5-0, and so everyone's kind of like going, "Hey, I don't want to hear about that. Let's talk a little bit about this." And it's not a good thing. They've got to figure some things out, and I'm hoping
2 reasons for that
they
by
can
the way.
figure it out. Yeah,
2 reasons. Number one, the defense is so much better this year than they were last year, which is keeping in game. It's even providing opportunities for the offense to score, or they're scoring themselves. They've also had some special teams touchdowns as well, which is also vastly improved. But you got a quarterback who's taking care of the football now, making plays. Jake Retzloff's making plays this year that he didn't make in the last 4 starts he had.
Yeah.
Downfield, throwing the ball downfield, comfortable in the pocket, making stuff happen. Sure, is he perfect? Of course not. There's some turnovers that he'd love to have back.
Right.
But when the touchdowns are a higher number than the turnovers, you win.
Well, here's the thing, too. So people are like, man, there's bad Jake and there's good Jake. And I was like, but hold on.
You can say that about every quarterback.
But hold on, you didn't really see good Jake at all last year.
Right.
This is really
that's
the first time
point.
we've been exposed
that's
to
my point.
To,
he
to
was
good
below
Jake.
average as a quarterback last year, and that's why there was so much concern coming into the season. If this is your starter and that's the kind of output you're going to get out of the quarterback position, BYU's in trouble. Well, give Jake credit, give everybody on that offense credit, and give Aaron Roderick credit. They are much more productive in the pass game than they were last year. It's made up for the fact that the run game is still having issues.
So there's a couple things here. Because on the flip side, you have Arizona, who's been good Arizona and bad Arizona, too. Speaking of two personalities, right? And Arizona, this is what Kalani had to say about the Wildcats and their offense, because it can be insanely electric or it can be wildly inconsistent, and you've seen it all across them starting off 3-2. You saw good Arizona against Utah. You saw bad Arizona last week against Texas Tech when they were at home. So here's what he had to say about their offense.
We got an exciting team coming into town, tons of talent, and I think a lot of attention goes to their offense because they have playmakers all over the place. They can run the ball, they can throw the ball, and have really great talent at the quarterback position with Noah and with McMillan as a receiver. You can see there's a great connection between them, but you can see that he's connected to all his receivers, and he knows how to dish out the ball. They have a very strong run game.
I was shocked, Sly, and you were down on the field, obviously, watching this one close up. I thought their tight end Burnett was phenomenal because they were like, okay, we're gonna lock down McMillan, and then Burnett ended up being a guy that killed him and killed him late too. They have the weapons out there, and people just usually go, oh, it's Tet McMillan, but the reality is that he makes it to where everybody else can also be a threat too, because he does command a lot of attention, and even though he hasn't had a lot of touchdowns since that first game, he's still catching a lot of balls and at the very least getting a lot of targets too.
Yeah, and I wanted to say this too when we were talking about Retzlaff and this offense and looking completely different from last year. I want everybody to pay attention to how important chemistry and experience does, right? Yeah. Retzlaff, now another year in this program under Roderick. Roderick knows him. He knows the system. There's comfortability there. Continuity and chemistry with the players. Retzlaff has gotten so many reps from last year to spring ball to training camp with these guys, and they're building that type of chemistry, and it's helping. It's the same thing with Noah Fafita here. You're talking about the tight end Burnett. Like, they went to high school together.
Yeah.
Like, there's 7 guys from that high school that are on the Arizona team. It's absolutely insane. So chemistry, continuity, chemistry plays a huge role in people being able to contribute in many different ways, and your quarterback being comfortable with distributing the ball to you. And that's what happened to Utah is, shut down Ted. Noah's like, all right, I got other assets too. Right. I know this offense. And that's what Kalani's talking about. Like, this offense is dangerous, so we have to respect them on all phases.
We'll take the break. We'll come back. More to go right around the corner on a Football Friday, 97.5, the KSL Sports.
It's a Friday, and we're talking football non-stop. All football, all the time. This is another edition of Football Friday with JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
We're following the recommendations. He is following the recommendations as well as from the doctors, and we'll see what happens this week, but there's a chance, I can tell you that, and it's still early in the week, but we're crossing our fingers and hoping for the best, as is Cam, and so we're just seeing how things play out, but again, we follow all the medical recommendations. We're not going to, I'm not a doctor, Cam's not a doctor, we're not going to go against that, so that's where we're at.
There's Coach Kyle Whittingham. I love how the world's falling apart when the Utes are 4-1.
It's a good place to be. When your program's so good, people think the sky's falling when you're 4-1.
Listen, but I will say you do it gets dicey in your head when QB1 is not there under center.
No doubt.
But guess what, Utah fans? Cam Rising going to be back under center, and I don't know. Okay. Sly, come on.
Sly planting that seed of doubt.
No. I'm not. I've been so pissed off. Man. Come on. Everybody comes to me every game is Cam playing. I'm like, oh, yeah, it looks good, man. I've seen this.
You've ruined relationships.
And then I haven't ruined relationships. People just think that I'm incompetent. That's all. But then I see Isaac Wilson trot out there. I'm just like, ugh. And I'm just like, all of last season, it was the same crap. So I'm just like, look, when you throw your first pass, don't even come out there at first series because you guys can line up at the line of scrimmage and call timeout and then switch him out again. But until he throws his first pass and we see that, I'll believe Cam Rising is out there. But until then, it doesn't even matter. Let's just get some wins. I'm tired of this team looking disorientated and bewildered out there. I just want my Utah football team that we know. That's the reason everybody's pissed. We talk all season about the possibilities and potential of what we should be seeing from this team, and we're underachieving those. And that's what pisses me off anyway. I can't speak for everybody else. But, that just sucks.
Sly, tell me if I'm wrong. This is my opinion. People are not just frustrated about Cam. We're making it about Cam because that's the first thing you turn to try to explain why this team is not playing the way we expected them to play this year, because the expectations were high. Maybe they were too high, but they were high for a reason, because they had all these guys coming back. They were locked and loaded and ready to go to win this conference and make the first college football playoff as a 12-team playoff. And right now they don't look like that team. Not one game you've seen this year are you blown away by them thinking, oh, my gosh, this is a playoff team. Oh, my gosh, this team is loaded. They haven't – not one game. Every single game there's been an issue or a concern that's come up, and it came to a head against Arizona, and everyone's got angst about it because it came to a loss, but no one was surprised because we all saw these issues cropping up during the first 3 games.
What did I tell you a couple weeks ago? We were on Thursday on a show, and I'm just like, this is just a season of General Hospital. That's all it
drama.
is.
Yeah,
the drama is just crazy.
Soap opera.
Everything that JJ is saying right now is true. Why does it have to be that way? Utah has appointed Isaac Wilson as a QB2. That means he's capable unless QB1 isn't able to be there.
Right.
And then you don't go run plays for him to be successful. That's drama for a reason.
Yeah.
Now we lose the game. Sky's falling. Oh, my gosh, what's going to happen? And we're just going to get closer and closer, and we're going to end up in that Big 12 championship, just like it was 2 years ago when we ended up in a Pac-12 championship game where all heck was lost after we lost to Oregon and all the chips fell where they may, and it was the best season that we can remember because of that emotional drama.
Alternate ending 7.
Yes.
Whatever it was, like you went choose your own adventure, like the weirdest combination of being able to get there.
Well,
but
fans want off this adventure. This isn't fun.
Well,
they want a different adventure, and that might start tomorrow. That might start tonight.
Well, by the way, that just put them in the Pac-12 championship game. They still had to beat USC by 3 scores, which they did. So,
right.
But
anyway. Those the highly touted USC, and
everybody
knows.
Caleb Williams.
Everybody knows
USC
it's hard to beat
was supposed
twice.
to go in. It was their crowning event.
It
was Caleb Williams. He was going to win the Heisman. That was his crowning event.
People also said that our first win against them was a fluke.
Right.
And Caleb Williams was one of them.
Right.
Fight
on. And so, just
Fight
that
on.
emotion going into it just solidified that win and that presence in the Pac-12 championship that much more.
That was actually we actually talked about that yesterday with Braden, who's the voice of the Arizona State Sun Devils. What did he say? He goes, he hasn't played against a Power 4 opponent a full game since that Pac-12 championship game in 2022. That's wild. So you think about it and you go, okay, there's a lot of stipulations there. A full game, because he's played in games, obviously, but not that many. And, he goes out in the Rose Bowl with the injury, later
there's
that
a conversation,
season,
guys. And Slat, I don't know if you can answer this or not. You've been around a lot of guys that have had to overcome big injuries. How tough is that to come back at the same form you were before when you've missed almost 2 years of play? That's got to be really hard to be just as good as you were before. How does Cam come back the same guy after all that time away?
The problem is you want it, right? We talked about it earlier in the first segment about how much of a competitor he is, right? Imagine keeping a competitor out. You as a little kid when you were a competitor, or you as an adult thinking that you were a competitor as a little kid, try to keeping that guy out because of an injury. The frustration that it has to be for that. And so when you do come back, we see this all the time, they try too hard. And it just doesn't come as simply, and the frustration mounts because you've had that whole time away. And so it's a lot harder. I think this is the perfect month for Cam Rising to come back with the competition lineup we have with TCU, Houston, et cetera, et cetera. This is the perfect time for him to come back and make a stride and get his feet back wet and build that chemistry before we face a good team in BYU.
Well, but here's the other thing. Here's the other thing, though, because it's one thing to be right physically. We've talked
mentally,
about this. It's got to be just as big of a situation, right?
Hey, I was told growing up, and I didn't understand it at the time, they're just like, football is 85% mental.
Yep.
Right? And I'm just like, what are you talking about? I'll just run down and stick my face in this freaking pile over here, and I just hit this guy. What do you mean it's 85%
I just know I'm the most talented guy on the field. Right? That's all you know when you're a kid. But
it wasn't until playing here at Utah, learning from Gary Anderson, learning from Kalani, learning from Coach Witt, how I understood that being better neck up will put you in the best position to win, right? And even then, so getting more into the league, understanding why the heck is Ray Lewis playing 17 years at middle linebacker and still being successful? That makes no sense. He can't even move. But why? If I don't need to move much and I'm always in the right position. Hines Ward, same thing. He's not blazing fast. Why is he catching all these passes every single year?
Yeah.
Right? He's playing the neck up. There's a different level.
Tom Brady was like
game.
that his entire career. He was never the most physically gifted guy.
Until his last couple of years where he just looked like a freaking
he finally was
figurine water diets.
Right. So, okay, here's the thing. Steve Bartle came on our show yesterday, right, and said, hey, he was told that Cam started taking all the reps basically Tuesday on. So Tuesday, and then he had the final reps all going through those walkthroughs right before they got on the plane to go down to Tempe. That's a good sign, and I'm anxious for him to have all those things, the mental stuff, because it's just like, okay, get through that first quarter, get through this thing. By the way, maybe ease up on running the football a little bit more insane. And I don't know how you tell a guy like him to ease up, because they told him that 1,000 times.
You got to play the game,
and
man.
he went right back out and he did it again.
You got to play the game.
I wonder what it's going to look like this weekend. But Arizona State is, look, Utah's 4-1, and maybe fans are shocked because they shouldn't have lost that game against Arizona. They should be 5-0. But Arizona State is supposed to be 2 and 3, right? I mean, like, that's what you have in your head. But Arizona State, like so many of these other Big 12 teams, have overperformed this year. They found something on the offensive side. Speaking of good running backs, Cam Scadaboo, this is a guy who's doing a really, really good job.
He had to play quarterback for them last year against us. They were so bad.
Oh, my gosh. So 600-plus yards on the ground. He's 6 per attempt. He's not like the physically gifted dude out there, but he's very, very shifty. What did we get yesterday? He's low to the ground.
Yep.
That's never a great. That's never something that people you want to hear.
It gets the job done, though.
But it does. It absolutely does. But then Sam Levitt, he's also overperforming. You have Cam Scadaboo and Sam Levitt, who are both overperforming. This offense has been good for over 300 yards per game, Sly, on the ground, which bodes well for Utah, because if that's the thing that has made them so successful, that's the thing that they're going to ratchet down this weekend if you're Morgan Scalley, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I just don't see it.
You haven't seen?
I don't see it against us, right? So, I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
You
like
have to put the tape on.
That feels good, because that's Utah's strength is
Exactly.
They could shut down the run game.
Exactly. And so you look at the games from Wyoming, Mississippi State, Texas Tech. Those teams are all underperforming this year.
Not great on defense.
They're lost to Texas Tech, right? That was actually a close matchup, but, like, they still aren't coming with it. Sam Levitt, I think, is doing great for a redshirt freshman, transferring from Michigan State and making things happen. So they're seeing some productivity that they haven't seen the last couple years at Arizona State. But you're getting Utah coming off a loss. You got Brant Keithy, who got injured 2 years ago at Arizona State, so he's wanting to have some get back and hopefully no PTSD, going down there. But you're getting a lot. Cam Rising come back. There's a lot of narrative going into Utah performing this week, and so it just doesn't bode well for you. You're going to get a lot of angry. I'm telling you, I interviewed Ben Fillinger after the game. I thought he was going to punch me how angry he was.
I bet.
He was upset, and you guys see the video Utah posted this morning. If this doesn't tear you up, if this doesn't rip your guts out, you're in the wrong program.
Wow.
That's what Coach Wiz is telling these guys. So right after the game, he's like, you better feel like crap and this is what he told me. He always referenced old players when we played for him. Reference old players, guys like who was before me, like Steve Tate and Weddle and these guys. The losses would tear them up. They would be sick, and he was teaching us how to take losses and come back from that at that moment. So that's what he's doing to these guys right here. And so I think that Utah's just going to come out on fire tonight.
All right. Utah's had the bye week.
Yes, bye week.
The reason Arizona beat Utah is because they held them to 10 points. They held Utah to 10 points because Utah couldn't get in the red zone.
Couldn't get in the end zone. It was 16-10.
Give Arizona credit, but Utah could not get in the red zone. Arizona State, can they do the same thing tonight against Utah?
No.
I doubt
Doubtful.
it.
Yeah.
I doubt it. That's why I think the Utes get it done tonight.
All right. Nominate that youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Shirt of the Week. The way you do it, you just go to KSLSports.com/contests, and then you can nominate that youth sports volunteer that you know who's just making that extra effort in your community and doing a phenomenal job. Let's get it going, and let's honor those guys. We do it with the Hercules Shirt of the Week, sponsored by Hercules Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. Let's take that break. We'll come back. We're at the home show. We'll chat with Nate Orchard and Jake coming up around the corner here, because we've got some deals here for you. We're at the home show with Advanced Window Products, so stay right here. More to go. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
It's a Friday, and we're talking football non-stop. All football, all the time. This is another edition of Football Friday with JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us, everybody. We are at the home show. We're here with the folks at Advanced Window Products. We're at their booth. We'll get with Nate and Jake in just a moment here. In the meantime, before we get going here, I wanted to make sure that we understood what's going on. Look, we operate a lot in the world of fake. Like, hey, what if this happened? What if this were to happen? But EA Sports with College Football 25, of course, being back in the mix.
Oh, I love that.
I know. Our own Mitch Harper does simulations now in all these games, just, for us to have something to talk about. Because a fake game is almost like the real game.
It looks like
it's basically like what we do.
You guys didn't get the script?
No. Well, if it is, so I'll remind you too, on the simulations that BYU's done so far, the sim has BYU at 3-2. So they guessed wrong on any two games you think they guessed wrong on? The ones that everybody else thought they were going to lose in.
SMU and
Kansas State. Yeah. And
SMU, not Baylor.
Right.
Okay.
No. SMU. No, Baylor. Baylor actually was the closest one. They had it 30-18, BYU, and 34-28. So this simulation this week. Go over to KSLSports.com to watch clips of fake football.
It's not fake. It's not fake.
It looks
buddy.
really good, though. It looks really good. I'll tell you, it looks really, really good. So the game ended in regulation 10-10, and everybody went home. So BYU tied that week. No. They go into overtime. BYU wins in double overtime against the Wildcats, 25-17. Feels real. Mari Bamba with the game-winning interception. Do you see what we're doing here? Like, it just sounds ridiculous as we're doing it. So I don't know. In the end, they have it as a defensive battle. Going as at halftime, it was 7-3. So there you go. Again, fake
What's
football.
with Arizona and the Grinders this year, though?
They're
not. I thought they were going to be explosive like they were last year and put a lot of points on the board. They haven't scored more than 23 points in a game since the opener against the bad New Mexico team.
Yeah. You're expecting to see. I mean, and what's crazy is Noah Fafita will throw for 300 yards and 1 touchdown. Like that. That's what's bonkers. And then on the flip side, you have ASU, who's like, we're just scoring points out the wazoo here, man.
Apparently, red zone issues are a virus.
It is a problem for a lot of these teams. All right. Guess who we're sitting here with? This feels like home to us, and we're at the home show, so it's comfortable. We're with Advanced Windows. We're here at their booth. They have the signature circular signage that gets you.
Can't miss it.
We're on aisle 400, by the way, if you want to come down. That's the south end of the Expo Center. But how about I save you on some gas? Is that bad to say?
No, it's good to say.
Don't even come.
We have savings for everyone.
Yes, I
on
know.
different levels, not just windows.
Hey, listen,
just windows.
You'll save on the gas. You know why? Because look, we love you coming to the home show, but you don't need to come because Advanced Windows is going to get you the home show deal over the phone today. So if you're one of those people who maybe is like, I want to get out of there, but I can't from my office, whatever. First of all, let's talk about it. And by the way, we're going to bring Kendra on later. Maybe not this time, but she brought something up that I forgot about, and it's on top of all the other savings you guys do. Kendra's like, I'm going to fight for those rebates for you, too.
Rebates.
She's the rebate guy.
Yes.
We never talk about rebates.
Yeah.
That's already like, maybe we take it for granted because it's just something that's part of the business. You guys, the government offers rebates for people who are getting new windows put in their house.
And that's just one of the things you have to take advantage of, right? From the talk about energy savings and upgrading your windows, and you get our high performance windows, which is foam filled, right? The frame, the chambers of the frame are filled with foam. On top of that, you have the low E366 glass. All those things qualify you for those rebates from Dominion Energy and Rocky Mountain Power.
Look at that.
It's just more money back in your pocket at the end of the day.
Look at him. He doesn't know about Sag and Corbin. He knows
Look
about
at this. He's a window slide now.
He's slinging these windows.
He's a window
Spy over there. We're doing it all.
You didn't think that this much
TE stunt on this one.
You didn't think that this much technology went into Windows, but it does. It
does. It does.
So let's talk about the difference also of, $3,000 is nothing to sneeze at because normally you guys are doing $2,500 off for 10 windows or more. That's a great deal.
Yeah.
We'll do 2,000 tons, and we bumped it up to 2,500. And now today, Jake, we're $3,000 off. People who call, get on the books. You don't have to commit to anything today. Just have Rob come out and do the audit and see how much you can save.
Yeah, and look, he can come out and he's going to educate you. And most other window companies, the homeowners out there, you've had door knockers come, and if you've entertained them, it's 2.5 hour presentation, that hard sell. Or it's like, hey, you have to buy today, and if you'll let us put the sign out in front and become a marketing home, we're going to give you half price. Like, a lot of sales gimmicks go into that. Rob's going to come out to your house. He'll be there for 45 minutes to an hour, and he's going to get to know you and understand what your needs are. What does your home need? And he's going to go through all of your windows, and he'll be able to tell you where you might have the issues with your windows, where the weaknesses will be. And then at the end, he's going to have a price for you there on the spot. He's going to have all of the financing options available for you there on the spot. And then you can decide. You can take a week, take 6 months, take the time. Most of the time, at the end of the day, people want to buy the windows because they know the price cannot be beat, the quality cannot be beat, and the fact that we manufacture and have that lifetime warranty and we're not going anywhere, it's the value, the entire package cannot be beat.
We talked about the rebates. We talked about the quality of windows that you guys produce right here locally. You're a phone call away if anything comes up. But what really matters is people want to save money, and they want to save money today. So what do you got for them?
Yeah, we got $3,000 off. Call today.
Wild.
We're going to give you $3,000 off, 10 or more windows.
Wow.
Rob will be on the other line, so call. Just call, And you can't. There's nothing to lose. If you're thinking about windows, just call.
Can I pretend like I'm part of the team and give the phone number out?
Yeah, do it.
Yes.
Do it.
This always, I always love this. 801-850-9100. If you want to be a part of this, you want to be able to get that $3,000 off, have Rob come out and do the audit on the home and just tell you. They're going to tell you what that breakout looks like and how much money you're going to save. And you're going to save money. And you're going to get 0% financing. You're going to get it because the factory is here. They build it here. No middleman. 801-
Right.
850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Advanced Window Products. Should we do this again in another 30 minutes
Let's
here?
do it.
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right, fellas. We got more to go right around the corner. Stay right here with us. We are at the home show, Advanced Window Products. Let's get it going. 801-850-9100. Get on the books, and let's take those phone calls. Let's get you on that schedule. You don't have to come down to the home show to do it. 801-850-9100. More to go right around the corner. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.